Hey team, welcome to this strength and mobility class. Ange Marty here.
How we doing?
And today we are focusing on our spine and our hips in particular because they are areas we always hear that people want more strength and more flexibility. You want to build more resiliency, more capabilities in these areas so you can mitigate injuries, also like help with joint stiffness. And the stronger we are in more ranges of motion, especially hips, especially our back, then it just means that we aren't going to get injured in those ranges and we're just going to feel better doing everyday activities. Okay, let's get into it. We are going to start with a warm-up. We're warming up the body, we move into some conditioning, and then we're going to bring some strength to a few exercises, in particularly focusing on the back and the hips. So we're going to start with some roll down variations. So I want you to stand feet hip width apart, and so making sure that your toes are spread on the ground, so no shoes, I've got to say that, big toes pointing forward. Now from here we're going to articulate our spine, rolling from the top all the way from the bottom. So you're going to start at the head, chin towards your chest, and we're going to round each vertebra at a time over the next. You can bend the knee slightly as you get a little lower if you need to, and try and keep the hips right over the ankles if you can here. When you get to the bottom, take a breath in, exhale. We start from the bottom now, articulating back up. So lower back, then your middle back, and then your upper back. We're going to do one more in this direction. Inhale at top, exhale, rounding the spine. So spine mobility is often an element that's missing in a lot of exercise programs, like generic exercise programs, and it's such a vital piece that we need to maintain as we get older. So take your breath in and start to roll up one vertebra at a time, restacking each vertebra on the next. So on the next one, we're going to maintain the same lower body, but we're going to rotate to the right. So it's an easy little twist. So the pelvis is pretty much going to stay where it is. The spine twists to the right corner. Take your breath in. Exhale. Now we're going to roll down the right seam of the leg, rolling down, opening the vertebra on this side, one at a time. When you get to your end range, you're going to roll back up the way you came. So peeling from the lower back, so make sure you're curving the spine. You'll feel the stretch more on one side, all the way up to the top. We're going to do that same side one more time. So we rotate, breathing in, exhale, rolling down one vertebra at a time, peeling down. So we're adding some rotation and flexion together for this exercise. A lot of the time, you know, we hear people who like go pick up a pen and their back goes on them, and often it's because they're training very linear and not learning to bend in these ranges. So other side, two to the left this time. So rotate to the left side or the side you haven't done, and then rolling down one vertebra at a time. So this is also going to help us build our awareness around our body, our spine awareness, seeing if you can really create that mind-body connection to each vertebra as you roll down. If you feel like your whole spine just kind of moves as one, that's okay. A lot of the time that happens when we first start, but you want to try and, just imagine, visualize each one moving on the next. Okay, so we're going to keep going with this dynamic warm-up, wide stance this time. So Marty, you can face the front, wide stance. So toes slightly pointing out with this one. Okay, so now rather than round, we're going to try and keep a flat back, a hinge. Grab both hands and bring it onto the right side of your hip. Now maintaining a flat back, we're going to roll as our hands slide down the right seam of the leg. Now you may not get to the ground, that's totally fine. We do a semicircle around to the other seam of the leg, and then you slide back up all as one. So the spine comes up all as one here, and then slide down the other side. That's it. I'll come to the side here, shift over and come up. So you can probably feel we're opening different parts of the hips here. And again, sliding down, trying to keep a flat back, so a hinge, not a rounded back. We circle across, semicircle, starting to open the spine and the hips and come up. And again, hinging over and circle. And we've just got one more each side. So keep going in your own time. One more each side here. You probably find as you repeat this one, starts to open up a little bit, and we love this one as a warm-up for any kind of lower body strength work, whether you're doing squats, hinges. This is a great warm-up. We learned it in our lifting. When we started lifting, this was one of our first exercises. All right, so once you're done here, we're going to start to be a bit more flowy in this last part of our warm-up. So if you've got a mat, stand at the end of your mat. Feet hip width apart, maybe a little wider, because we're going to go into a deep squat. So if you feel like your deep squat is a little bit rusty, you'll probably feel that the wider the feet, the easier it'll be. But if you're okay, you can go hip width apart. So you're going to roll down just like we did before, peeling down to the bottoms till the hands touch. So feel free to bend the knees as you get further so that you can get your hands down to the ground. This time we're going to sink our hips down and come into your deep squat here. Now, if your heels lift in your deep squat, that's okay. Just work with whatever range you have available. From here, we're going to walk out to a plank. So you're going to walk out all the way to a plank just to kind of activate our core a little bit. You can even get those shoulders just past the wrists here. Breathing. Yep, feeling that core activate. And then hips go back to like a down dog. So we reach the hips high and press through the hands just for a little stretch through the back of the legs here. You can always pedal the heels, one up, one down, kind of bend one leg, extend the other leg. Good. And then walk the hands back towards the feet. So we're in a forward fold and roll up. So that is the sequence we're going to move through. A little bit more dynamic, and you don't have to kind of slow down so much as we go through it, and feel free to move through in your own time. So Marty will move through with you, rolling down, coming into your deep squat, really open chest. You can always move a little left to right as you get there. Walking out to your full plank. Take a moment in your full plank here. Getting our core woken up here. Hips high to the sky as you press back to your down dog. You can always walk the hands back. Little pedal of the heels might feel helpful. And then walk the hands back towards your feet. Bend the knees and roll up. And as well, like, make this work for you. If you have limitations, we'll go through 2 more rounds to finish. You know, move through, make it easier. This is the warm-up. We don't want to ever be pushing through pain. We want to find ranges that are just on that border of where we are. Nice work. Walking out to your plank. You can make it flow a little bit more towards your down dog. A little pedal if you like. And then walking the hands back towards the feet and rolling up. And we'll just do 1 more round here to finish off our warm-up. Breathing in. Exhale, rolling down. So a nice dynamic warm-up is really good to get blood flow to your tissues. Also just opening up, making that connection to your body, checking in, being like, how do I feel today? And you can ask these questions as you move through these flow. How do I feel? What's stiff? What's niggling a little bit? So that when you go into the strength phase of your program, you're more body aware and more connected so that you can take care of your body. All right, let's get into some conditioning. So we're going to start with some hip work in our 90-90. So when you're ready, you're going to sit into a 90-90 position. What is that? It means that our hips, knees, and ankles are sitting at 90 degrees. So Martin's here with his right leg out in front and his left leg is behind. 90 degree at the hip, at the knee, at the ankle. Now, if you feel you're in this position, it just feels like really hard, you can slightly decrease that angle by bringing the feet slightly closer in. So that angle at the knee is not as sharp, I guess, and that should make it a bit more comfortable. The other thing you can do is put a little cushion or a little folded up towel underneath your right hip.
Even your
and
mat.
If you elevate that hip a little bit more, that will also open up a bit more mobility. Okay, so once you get there in your 90-90, so we've got our left foot back. So just warming up into this position here, you can bring your left hand onto that left hip, kind of here, and just roll it forward and back a few times. So just roll that hip forward and back into internal rotation and external rotation. So let's just move through that. And you can see in just being in this position, our front leg is in external rotation and our back leg is in internal rotation, right? All right, last one here. Now we're going to find that middle point. We're going to be a bit more active here. So rather than slumping through our spine, we're going to create a bit more core support. You can always have fingertips down if you like, on either side, or you can have the arms off, just hovering off the ground. Now I want you to imagine the top of this front leg is kind of pulling up towards your chest, and your chest is hinging over that front leg. So maintaining a flat back, the top of the leg is pulling up, and then we're driving that front leg down into the ground as we come back up. So the leg kind of pulls up towards us as we hinge over, and then we drive that front leg down as we come up. Even pace, over, maintaining a flat back, so no hinging, and up. And if you need that hand support, I'll do the hand support. I'll show you, so you can take some of the weight out from your body, from the work, using your arms here. And up. We're going to do one more. Hinging over, flat back, and up. Now you can have the hands either side if you need to, one hand in, one hand out, or again you can have the hands off. When we work through this work, it actually helps to radiate tension through the rest of the body, so we can really isolate the hips. What does that mean? You can create a fist with your hands and slowly start to increase the intensity of the fist to come all the way through the body, so everything is on here and supported. Now this exercise here, we're actually going to lift the front leg to hover off the ground and come back. Now if you feel like to do that, you're going to do this. I think I just saw Marty do that. So as you lift the leg, you hinge back. Use the hands and see if you can support the whole body to stay exactly where it is as you lift the leg and lower. So it's about 1 centimeter or 2 off the ground. If it doesn't even move for you, that's fine, just as if it's going to lift, so the muscles engage, and then lower. So let's go for 5 of these. Let's go lift and lower. So the foot and the knee lifts up and lower. Lift. So stick the rest of the spine where it is, wherever you choose. Again, so you'll feel that if you bring more weight into the hands and even lean back, it is going to be easier. There's nothing wrong with that. That's your entry point to the exercise. But just choose where you're going to start, and it doesn't move once you've begun the exercise. Last one. I think we've done more than 5. That's okay. And lower. Let's bring some work to this back leg. So now with the back leg, we're going to move into some internal rotation. So again, without moving the torso, so wherever I choose, the easier it will be. I can even lean onto this right hand, or I can lean even onto my elbow to take the weight out. So you choose the setup. The foot is going to lift and the knee stays down. So internal rotation and down. So we're using the glute here. You'll feel it kind of turn on as the hip rotates. So you don't want to take the whole pelvis with you. It's not that, right? We're keeping that still, just as femur is internally rotating and lowering. So let's go for another 5 of these. Core on to support you so the torso doesn't move. Internal rotation is another kind of missing piece in a lot of exercise programs, and if we want a true hip conditioning, sustainable hip strength, we need to include all ranges of motion, which includes hip internal rotation. Let's just do 2 more. Last one. And down. We're now going to bring the work to this front leg again. So remember, hands can be either side of this front leg. We're going to lift just like we did before, like a little hover, but now we're going to attempt to extend the leg out in front to straight lower it. And then from here, we pick up the leg and pull it back in. If that's impossible, you go back to another set of the front leg lift. All right, let's go for 5 of these. So remember, hands on or off, lift the front hip. Leg, extend the leg. See if you can turn the toe up and lower. Then lift the leg, pull it in with control and down. That's 1. Lift, extend, turn the toe up and lower. Lift, come in. Again, it will make it easier if you lean back a little bit. Your choice here. So I'm up to 3 and down. 4. Turn the toe up low with control. Pull it in. Last one here, team. And 5.
Try that in the hands.
Okay, nice work. Let's do that all on the other side. So we'll work to our bare seat in a moment, but that's okay. Let's, any way you like, moving to your second side. I'm going to move back a bit. Yeah. All right, so same hand on that back hip, and we're going to get straight into this rotation forward and back. So again, just remembering you can feel really different left to right on your hips, on anything really, any ranges of motion. So just take a moment to check in, be like, how does my Z sit on my 90-90 on this side feel? Different, same, just something to note. Last one here. Again, make any adjustments you need to in this position to make it work for you. Fingertips down or off. Remember, we create the tension. So if fingertips are off, fists, straight arms, radiate the tension, straight spine. This top, for all the muscles on the top of this front leg, pull upward as we hinge, and then we drive the leg down to come back up. 1. Hinge, maintaining that anterior tilt, so maintaining our lower back. 2. Down and drive it away. 3. Hinge and drive it down. 4. Hinge. 5. Let's do one more for good measure. And hinge and drive it back up. Nice work. Okay, so remembering to make this next one easier, you can always bring the hands down, lean back out of it.
And you need a bit of a shake because it's like,
Cramping.
Cramps on the right side if you don't.
So cramp is normal, don't freak out.
Just shake it
if
out
you haven't been in the position for a while, you'll probably feel that the muscles are just like, what the hell are you doing?
Or one side's tied on.
Yeah, or one side is kind of holding on. Just shake it out and come back in. Okay, so this next one here, we're going to lift the foot, the shin, and the knee all at once. Remember, the hands can be down or hands create that fist and radiate tension. It's a little hover and lower. If the leg doesn't even move, just pull it up as if it is and down. Lift and lower. That's 3. Lift, hover, and down. Lift and down. 2 more here. Lift and down and lift and down. So good, team. This back leg internal rotation hip work, remember you can prop off to the left hand or elbow if you'd like. From here, radiate tension with the torso and then this not moving. So we don't want this to happen. We want this to be still and we move into leg, foot off for that internal rotation work. Good, let's go. 5 more for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, if your body is freaking out, this is just intel. This is just things to know. It's 100% workable for everybody.
Yeah, once you sit into it a little bit longer, it'll just get used to it, just like I did there.
All right, so front leg extension. So we hover this front leg just like before. If you want to take it, extend the leg toe up lower. With control, lift the leg, pull it in and down. Lift the leg, hover, extend toe up, down. Lift the leg, pull it in and lower. Lift, extend and down. Lift, pull in, lower. Lift, extend and lower, toes up. Lift, pull it in and down. So good. Now, if this 90-90 you found out that this is a position you need to work on, challenge yourself. Spend 5-10 minutes a day sitting, watching TV in this position on the left and then the right, and the body will adapt. We're going to move into our bear sit. So you're going to start to rotate towards the front and you'll feel just naturally, you'll end up with your heels wider than your hips in this position here. So feel free to grab your ankles or your calves and just lift your chest for a moment. Take a full breath. Exhale. Now again, you can have when you lean back with this next one, it's going to be a little bit easier. If you're going to be forward, hands off, it's going to be more challenging on the hip. So from this bear sit, we are going to lift one leg, extend it to straight and lower with control. Now, our hip flexors, a lot of the time, if they start to give us trouble, the first thing we think is I need to stretch them. But the thing is, a tight hip flexor is not necessarily a problem. It's your body trying to find a solution. It's trying to figure out to support something else compensating. So we want strong hips, strong and supple hips. So that is why we need to work on, even if they're tight, we need to work on their strength. So then this same leg, we lift it up, we pull it in and lower. And then we change the other side. So you can have hands off, hands on and down, lift, pull it in. Again, we want to keep the rest of the body isolated here. And see if you can lower and bring it back with control, not just like dumping it down. Extend, lower, lift, pull it in, down, lift, extend, lower, lift, pull it in, down, lift, extend, lower. Woo, these hips are on. One more each side. Lift, extend, lower, in. One more here. Lift, extend, lower, lift, pull it in and down.
This is where you want to also elevate your hips with a block. If that on the floor is going to be too difficult. So
yeah, but the other thing you can do if that was too much is just bring one leg in and just work on one side at a time and really put your focus there. But think about it, this is a movement like going from this position to this position that you would hope, putting on our shoes and socks. We need this degree of hip flexion in order to carry out everyday tasks. So really important that if that's weak for you, you've just figured it out, then that is something you can simply add into your strength training as a conditioning exercise. All right, let's move to some spine mobility. We'll give our hips a little rest. So we're going to come onto all fours for this next one. So I'll get Marty to come onto all fours here. And like we all know our cat-cows, we're going to focus on that rounding and the extension of the spine, but this time with that segmental spine articulation. So I want you to start in the extended spine in your cat-cow. So we're looking up, we're dropping the middle of the back. Okay, once you're there, we're going to think about starting from the bottom of the spine, rounding one vertebra at a time. So we tuck the tailbone and flex the lower back, then we flex the middle back, and then the upper back, the head goes down. Now, the same thing, but we start from the bottom again. So untuck the tailbone, lower back, middle back, and upper back. And again, tuck the tailbone. If you feel like your whole spine is just moving as one, again, just visualize it. The mind-body connection builds over time, but we need to practice. I also find it helpful if the one vertebra at a time is too much. Keep going while I'm chatting here. You can visualize doing 1/3. So like the lower third, then the middle third, and then the upper third.
Okay, want me to show that one?
Oh, that's okay, just keep moving through, but I just wanted to give an idea that if you need to work on a step that feels a bit more doable, you can go to that version. All right, last one here, and then we'll find halfway between the two ranges in the middle of your cat-cow. So come halfway between the two. So here we're just going to move our spine into some rotation here. All you're going to do being on all fours is reach, let's say the left hand first through to the right, reaching as far as you can. The shoulder comes to the ground and you're going to look that way. So it's like there's someone pulling a piece of string on your fingers to give you that rotation. Come back to all fours. And then we do the same thing on the other side, reaching and rotating through, getting that spine rotation. And once you've done that side, coming through. So just with slow and controlled, we're just moving side to side, finding your end range of rotation that you have available with this exercise. So when we want to make sure that we have a resilient spine, a resilient body, we need to make sure that we are training our spine and our body in every direction it has available. So spine rotation is such a good one for us to practice, because if we are sitting at a desk, if we are, in the same position, that sedentary lifestyle all day, this is something our spine absolutely craves. Let's do a couple more each side, just reaching side to side, reach and come back through. And again, reach and come back through. Nice work, team. One more each side. So as you reach, the shoulder goes lower. You can bend the elbow. You can bring the ear down to the ground. Last one. Awesome. And coming back up. So the next direction that I find we're missing a lot as we get older, we kind of just stop doing it. Maybe as a kid, we used to do back bends more often, but spine extension as an adult is almost non-existent. And look, when we look at older people and walking around, what's the position of their posture? It's rounded and more rounded until they're kind of stuck here. So the more you can maintain spine extension, the better. So let's get into it. We're going to do a really active version, lying on your tummy in prone. And you can have your hands reaching towards your fingertips. So coming down, so you can have your hands reaching towards your toes. Yeah, and palms towards the ground like Marty here. So before we start, I want you to think of tucking your tailbone, lengthening the lower back, because obviously it's the upper back, which is the part that we want to kind of focus on, even though we're doing whole body extension. So from here, we're going to start to rotate the arms into external rotation, peel the shoulders off the ground and lift the chest up and look forward. So the whole upper body comes into extension, chest is beaming forward, and then we lower back down, turn the arms down towards the ground. So it's extension and external rotation of the shoulders, rotating up, pulling and opening the shoulders here, and then rotating back down. So let's go for about 6 of these here, opening up that back into extension and then lowering back down for 5 or 6, we said, and lowering down for 5, 4, 3, nice work, team, 2, last one here. Awesome. We're going to take a little break between sets. So reach back towards a child's pose. So hips towards your heels and just have a rounded back. So you don't have to extend the spine for this one. So heels towards your bottom towards your heels and to untuck your toes and just have a rounded back. So we're reversing the extension just for a moment, actually creating some flexion, some space between the vertebra. You can always kind of walk one direction or the other for a little side bend. You don't have to. It's just an option. And then when you are ready, we're going to come back down into your belly. And now we're going to go for whole body. So for this variation, you can just have the hands by the chest. We have very many different variations we can do here, but just hovering the hands off the ground as we lift is the variation we're going to do now. So I want you to think now the whole body is going to lift into extension. So everything we can lift up off the ground to try and make like a U shape with your spine. So we're lifting the legs, lifting the chest, we're lifting the head. We're not over lifting anything. So we're not hyperextending the neck. We're keeping a little chin tuck, but everything is lifting off, the shoulders pulling back, making that U, and then coming down. So let's do another 6 of these. So lifting up, 6 and down. So we want to make sure not only do we have the range in our back, but we also have the strength behind it, which is why we're doing back lifts right now. So 4, 3, nice work, 2, last one, and 1. Awesome, team. Come back up to all fours. You can round the back if you like into like that cat position or your child's pose, whatever feels good for you for a moment. Take a full breath, and then when you're ready, we're going to meet you standing for the start of our more functional strength work. If you need to grab a drink or anything like that, please do that now. So the first strength exercise we want to share with you is a real basic, but we find it's often misunderstood or the form is not done well. And I really think the more we can get our form right, the more we can work on our range and flexibility and strength, the more it will just progress and skyrocket when you kind of understand what you're doing. So the squat, we're going to move into developing the goblet squat. The way that we teach this, we're going to do a little breakdown of it, and then we're going to add whatever weight you've got to the squat. So I want you to have the feet can be slightly wider than your hips to start with. As you get more open in your hips, you can have a little bit more of a hip width stance. But let's go a little bit wider to start with. Interlace your hands and have them between your legs here. So we call this the potato sack squat. So when you're here, I don't want you to have this rounded back. You're gonna think you're carrying a sack of potatoes and you're kind of opening the chest here. So still standing up against it, really open. So from here, we're gonna sink down, maintaining this posture, down into whatever squat we have available. So sinking the hips down, keeping the chest up, carrying our sack of potatoes. Hold it there. Now, if you can, you're going to bring your elbows inside of the knees and press the knees out wide. So we're in like a prayer. You're going to keep the knees out wide and bring the hands forward. Then we're going to bring the hands above our head. We're going to maintain where we are, drive up through the heels and press up. Okay, so that's the potato set squat. If you can't get your hips down enough so that your elbows are in, that's totally fine. You're just going to come down to wherever you've got. Make the prayer and press the knees out at the same time. So even if you're here, press like you would. When the hands go out, you just maintain that position, arms come up, and then we drive it up exactly the same. But I really do want you to try and find your end range, really try and push it so that we can really challenge all the tissues to be strong. So let's get into the potato sack. Chest up, lift it against it, sink down into your deep squat, hold it, elbows inside of the knees, press out. Now we need strength behind it. Hands come forward, little pause, hands go above your head, hold, drive straight upwards. Yeah, so notice when we drive up, we're here, it's not this way, I'm not leaning forward. We're here and weight is back into my heels. I'm almost tipping back and I drive straight up. We've got 2 more rounds. Potato sack, chest up, sinking down, hands inside of the knees, press out wide, hands come forward, little hold, hands come up, pause, get it all on and then drive it up. Nice work. We've got 1 more just to warm it all up. Let's go. You're like, I'm warm, I'm warm. Come down, palms in, press out wide. Hands forward, pause, hands above your head, pause, hold it, and then drive straight up, go. Yes. All right, so that is the kind of work we want behind it, that we're working the tissues in that deep range that we've got available. So now, if we add a weight, the way we hold the weight in our goblet squat is like a little Y shape. Elbows are really tucked in. They're not holding the weight like this. And it's quite close to our chest because that's what's going to help our core. Actually, the heavier the weight, the more our core works for us, which is amazing because who needs to do core work when you can just carry something heavy? So again, find your position here, whatever weight you have available, chest up, just like in the potato sack. Now we drive straight down, find your end range and just pause here. Let's just have a hold, get the tissues on. No forward leaning. Imagine there's a wall in front of you. You've got to have the weight back, drive it straight up through the heels. Good. So I don't want you to drop into your deeper squat. I want you to almost be so that everything is working. Yeah, so you don't want to be relaxing everything in. So drive it down. Chest stays up, hold. We want everything to be working here. Chest up, little pause at the bottom, and then drive it back up. Good. So we're going slow on the way down and then an exhale, press to come up. So let's do 5 in total in your own time. Making sure you're pressing through those heels as we drive up. The weight's nice and close to us. And up. Nice work. Let's do a couple more. Inhale to go down, exhale as you press up. And last one here. Little pause at the bottom, working on that end range and then drive it up. Awesome. So that is a real basic of a squat, but really like you can incrementally increase that weight you are holding up until almost like 30 kilos. The more, again, you can, and look, you're carrying something at the front, super functional for everyday life, because how many times do we have to carry a box or, carry something, a baby, anything that's nice and close to us, and we can move it down, we can squat down. This is going to be a really supportive exercise to do. So it's a staple that we do in our lower body strength work, and the heavier that you go, actually the deeper and more flexibility you're going to build in your deep squat. All right, shall we move on?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So let's go to a hinge now. So another foundational exercise I'm going to show you on Marty. If you've got a stick available, this might just help with a bit of body awareness in this exercise. So we want feet hip width apart, toes pointing forward for this one. So, yeah. What you want to have is, if you grab a stick, you want to have 3 points of contact. The back of the tailbone, the back of the upper back, and then the back of the head. So just with that position here, I want you to try and hinge the spine, maintaining those 3 points of contact. So there's no rounding of the back, it's a lengthening of the hamstrings, and then we come up as a hinge up. Now, the legs can be straight. You can also have a slight bend in the knee. But if you have the bend in the knee, we're not increasing the bend as we go down. You're just going to maintain that bend. The work is happening at the hinge. Now, once you get to there, just hold for a moment. I want you at the bottom of your hinge, so no rounding of the back. I want you to push the heels down into the ground as if you're going to come up, but you don't, just as if. You'll feel the activeness on the back of those hamstrings, and then now come up and engage them. Hopefully you can feel more glute, more hamstring. So just try a couple more like that. If you don't need if you've kind of got that awareness and you don't need the stick anymore, you can take that away. But seeing if you can press the heels into the ground before you move as if, and then hinge all as one up.
I think it's very important to have that to keep your spine in place there.
Yes, just so there's no cheating there. Just try one more if you like to get that awareness before we try and change this one up a little bit. So the hinge is so good because it's going to create length and strength in the back of the hamstrings. If we want to challenge more of a single leg, we just move into a split stance. So it means that we're standing on one leg and we can just have the heel propped up on the other side. Hips are still square, so you can even bring your hands onto the ASISs, these bony marks. Make sure they're forward. Keeping the leg that we're standing on straight or slightly bent, the other leg is just supporting. From here, it's the same thing. We hinge, the tailbone, the sit bones go back. You should feel a length in the back of the hamstrings. Push that heel into the ground so we feel the strength, and then drive it up. This is a really good way to work on active flexibility of your hamstrings. Nice work. Hinge. And come up. Now, before we add weight, just try the other side. Switch legs. Just see if you can keep that hinge, keep that flat back. I also would recommend, if you're not sure if you're doing it, is to film yourself so you can actually see what your spine is doing. Really good to get some feedback. So if you're going to add your weight, the leg that you've got back is the one that you're going to hold the weight in. So what this is doing now, it's going to add extra strength in that end range of lengthening our hamstring. So Marty is going to keep the hips square, nothing changes, the weight stays underneath your shoulders, it doesn't move forward or back. We hinge exactly the same way, hips square, lengthening the back of that hamstring. When you get to the end range that you can tolerate, you engage the back of legs and you pull it up. The weight stays in close, so it's working all as one. So whatever weight you have and you can tolerate, let's just try 5 each side for today, getting that length and strength in one side. So Marty's up to, I think that's 3. Let's do 2 more on that side. I would even challenge that this could be one of the most effective ways to work on your hamstring length.
Big time.
All right, other side. So same setup, hip square, go easy on the first one and just feel out where is my end range before my back bends, before my knee has to bend, and I can still find the strength to lift that weight back up and engage the back of the legs. So let's do a 5 on this side. Nice work, team. hinge, extend as you come up. Last one, and you finish off your set if you are still going. Awesome. All right, so chuck that weight down if you're done there. We're going to keep going on the hinges because this is such a fundamental movement pattern for so many lower body exercises for mobility and strength. This time we're going to find a wide RDL, so a wide hinge. So walk your feet as wide as comfortable. So we're also working obviously on inner thigh length and strength here. Now, exactly the same scenario with no rounding of the back. We want to maintain, when I say anterior tilt, we're not tucking under or rounding the lower back at any point, and the back's actually not doing the work. The work is coming from the pelvis, unlocking and freeing up here. So keeping the straight legs in that wide stance, we're going to hinge as far as you can here, creating that length in the back of the legs, and then all as one, engage, so push the heels into the ground and come up. All right, let's go. Hinge, find that flat back, press into the ground and coming up. Good, let's go for 5 more. Feel that hinge. Now, you can challenge your arms position here by maybe even reaching up or even hands behind the back of the lower back to maintain your straight back. Good, for 5, 4, 3, 2, and last one here, and 1. Now, if straddle or working on your inner thigh or hips is a skill that you want to build, and I can tell you by some simple intentional movements you can build this at any age, this next one is really great one to find an entry point and build up that strength. So you're going to need a chair or a stool or something for this next exercise. So we've got Halo's chair, so we could find available. So Marty's going to sit on the chair. This time we're still going to have a wide stance, but the knees are going to be bent. So open your hips up as wide as comfortable. We're still working on the hinge, right? So we're still working on this flat back. So create as much length in your spine here as you can. Hands can be behind your lower back or cross towards your chest, whatever feels right for you. And then from here, we hinge over, flat back. Find that point that you can no longer go until you round, and then press into the legs and come up. This is a great one for working on your middle splits, for working on your straddle, flat back, and come up. Let's do 3 more here. Keeping the knees open and up. 2. Good. Last one here. No rounding, lengthening the spine as you hinge and up. So as this becomes a little easier, and actually I would say even before it comes easier, adding weight to this exercise is a really great way to then add the strength and load behind the stretch. So you can, if you've got this one, you can bring it to your upper back. So Marty will show you how to get it. Okay, so you can see the kettlebell is just resting on the back. If you've got a dumbbell, you'll just hold the dumbbell either side, and then that just rests here. Alternatively, if that doesn't feel good, of course, you can just have it nice and close, tight to your chest. So let's go for a second set here, hinging and adding some weight on. So basically, if you're just starting out, you're going to start with a light weight. As you progress from week to week, we start to increase the weight. That is the key to increasing and getting greater flexibility or mobility, which is strength behind the end range. So again, you're finding your end range and then coming back up all as one. So about 5 or 6 second set here. Keeping the length in the spine, keeping tall. Awesome, team. All right, once you've done your 6, finish off your set. Don't rush here. Yeah, bring the weight down carefully. Gets a little bit trickier as you start to get into higher weights, so getting in and out of the exercise. You might even need someone to come and help you. So we're going to make this a little different and still working on these open hips. So this next one, we're going to be standing into a wide stance. We're just going to add the weight straight into this exercise. So grab any weight that you've got that you can bring close to your chest and keeping elbows tight and in. We're going to start in that wide stance, toes pointing slightly out. So nice and wide here. So from here we go into a side lunge where one knee goes into a bend, one leg stays straight, and we keep really upright through our torso. So we bend into one side. Now there's a hold here when you get to your end range. So feel that out. We just started. From here you're going to bend through your wide squat. So slide through the middle, little pause, Kodak moment there, then slide through the other side. So this leg goes to full extension and then press straight up. Now we go to the other side. So we bend the right knee, left leg is straight. We slide through the middle, little pause, come through to the other side and press up. All right, so let's do a few. Take your time with this one, especially if you have a weight. And we want lots of control. If the weight is even too much here, you can hold the weight long, but if it's doable for your torso, you can bring it in like a goblet. All right, so coming through, just make sure if you're holding the weight, it's not going to bring your torso down. We want to keep just like that potato sack squat, keep that chest up. Good, so start moving through from side to side. As you move through the center, really opening the knees wide, finding that moment of pause before you press back up. So pause, come through, hold, come through, hold, and then press up. Good, let's do a few more. Slide down through your center and then press up. Good, let's go a couple more, team. You can do it. Yes. Our hips are working hard, but that's great. You know, it means that they're working. They're working. The tissues are adapting because we're putting load on it. The joint is adapting, the synovial fluid. That is what prevents like wear and tear. So this is all good stuff.
You want to look forward as well. Try not to look down, otherwise you have the tendency to round that back.
Good tip. So finish up the side you're on. Awesome, and then come on down. So we're going to finish this a wide leg sequence with a seated straddle. We'll just do an unweighted version of this, but I want to say that you can apply exactly the same stuff that we applied to the seated one to the straddle. So you can do the hinge with the weight. We do that a lot, developing it in our classes, but for today, I just want to show you some different ways to challenge your mobility in your straddle. So if your straddle on the floor, so come into a straddle, Marty, is, you know, a little bit of a challenge where you feel that you just round and you get stuck in that posterior tilt, then definitely elevate your hips. It means that number one, that chair exercise that we did, the hinge, is not like going to be an excellent exercise for you until you're able to get that movement through your lower back, and you can access this position here. Okay, so ones that I really like to work on, because we're working on spine and we're working on hips, one that does, and we haven't done any side bending yet in our spine, so we are going to add it into this straddle position. So your options here, and you can definitely do this seated on the chair, is to bring one hand to the side of your head, and as we come into a C spine, the elbow might come to the ground on the other side and we come up. Option, you can also reach the hand over to the side and come up all as one. So we are going to do 10 side bends on one side and we're going to do 10 side bends on the other. Remember, we want to work on our spine, not just flexion extension. We want to make sure we're accessing and challenging its strength and mobility in rotation and in side bending. Really important. So we like to kind of find different ways, different positions in like deep squat, in straddle, to challenge our spine and bring it into the picture so the whole body is working. So do your 10 here. If you like, you can on number 10 hold for 10 seconds.
Number 8.
9, nice work. And 10, you can just hold for 10 seconds, really breathing and kind of using your core strength to hold you there.
Here's my 10.
Nice work, team.
3, 2.
Yes. And coming up, and we do the
Slowly.
same thing on the other side. So again, if I was seated on the chair, I can absolutely access my side bend while my knees are bent and open, and working on my progression to a straddle. It's the quicker you will progress is the more you meet yourself at the entry point that you're actually at. Yeah, a lot of the time we think we'll progress quicker if we take 5 steps ahead. But the thing is, if you take 5 steps ahead, your form's not going to be as good, you're not going to be as body aware, and you're going to have less control. So regression, that's why we always offer so many regressions, so many ways to make the exercise more accessible and easier, because by doing that, you're actually going to improve quicker. So finish off your 10.
Here's 9. Got one more.
And we'll hold at number 10 here. Breathing. Nice work. All right, and then slowly come up. Okay, so shake those legs in, give them a bit of a shake, rock them from side to side, anything you need to do there. The last one that we want to expose you to is working on your lunge, because this is another, we've covered the squat, we've covered the hinge, we've covered straddle and side lunge. The lunge is a great one that progresses us towards, in terms of a flexibility, is front splits, which a lot of people as we get older just be like, oh no, front splits is for when I was like 12 years old and playing in gymnastics. But actually doing the drills to develop front splits has so many great qualities to improve our hip mobility. So that's why we love it.
Injury prevention helps so
much. All right, so what we're going to do is come into a lunge. If you need to put a little rolled up towel underneath your knee, do what you need to do to make sure you're comfortable. And we're just going to come into a lunge here. Now, we're just going to first open up with a little bit of a stretch, and I want you to find as much space between the front knee and the front foot and the back knee as you can. So we're in a pretty long lunge, yeah? So if you need to pick up that back foot, take it back a little bit, and just feel out what that feels like for you. If it feels too much, like, oh God, I can't move at all if I go this wide, bring it in closer. I also want to say with this exercise, have a wall handy or a stick you can hold on to, or a chair nearby. Nothing wrong with that. The more stability you have at the start, you'll find you'll just get more out of it. So when you're in your long lunge here, I first just want you to think about tucking your tailbone. So tucking your tailbone under and lifting through the front. By doing that, we're going to feel more pull through this front hip flexor. So just take a few breaths here, tucking under, finding the distance you want to work with your lunge here. You'll also feel when you tuck under, the glute turns on. So we're a little more active. Chest is up in this position here. Then you can maybe lunge forward a little bit if you've got access. So let's just go for 30 more seconds in this position, breathing. Just telling the body, hey, we're going to be moving in this position. You don't have to freak out. We're all good. Now, you might stay here for today and just work on this part. If you want to see if you can make it more active, now, again, you can have a wall nearby, a chair, something to help support you. One side, both sides, whatever's going to work. You're going to tuck that back toe. Keep that tuck under so the core is on to support you. And we are going to drive up from here into what we call a high lunge. So you're going to press through the front and the back foot equally until we come up. And then we go, like we're going down an elevator, straight down. And then we press up. So it's challenging the length and the strength of our hip flexors and many parts of our hip. So if you want to try 6 of these here, tuck under, press evenly through the front and the back leg. No heaving forward and no heaving back. So when you're ready, we have got 6. You can move through your own time, tucking under, squeezing your bottom core on to support you, pressing up on the exhale, inhale, coming down. 5, 4, 3, so good, 2, and 1. Nice work. That is a real challenge. So switch sides when you're ready.
Help if you had a very grippy mat.
Yes, it doesn't help having sliding feet.
No.
Okay, so again, same thing. We just find our lunge first. Find the distance you want to work with. So challenge yourself. Create a little extra space between that front foot and the back knee. We're just going to hold down for the first 30 seconds.
Yes.
So create more distance between the front and the back foot. Tuck under and lunging forward. So yeah, bring that foot a little more underneath your knee. Yeah. And then lift through the front core to support you here. We're not just like hanging in the front. Chest is up, glutes is on. We're just exploring 30 seconds here. And you can do up to a minute, 2 minutes, depending on what your body needs. Last 15 seconds. And then when you're ready, have that chair or wall nearby. Remember, we need the exhale. So we blow, exhale before you go and engage the core. Press straight up evenly through the front and back. Also, just watch what's happening with your shoulders, your neck, the rest of the spine. We're going for 6 here. Good. You'll probably feel quite a strong stretch in that back leg. And again, we're showing this, the hip flexors to be strong and mobile, which is way more useful than just being stretchy. So switch legs. If you want to do the same thing for this next round, you can do the same thing. If you want to challenge yourself and add some weights either side, you can add some dumbbells either side of the each leg. Or you can have, again, one weight into the front of the chest. So your choice here, you don't have to do that for today. Tucking under, finding your long lunge, and then driving up and down. Good. So give your 6 a try, same each side. You know, a lot of conventional exercise programs also don't do much from the floor. So challenging yourself to do things from the floor up can really be a great way to work on your mobility. Yeah. Okay, so long lunge, tuck under, lunge forward, lengthen that back leg, hip square. There are all the cues I can think of. Nice work. Yes, team. Awesome work. Okay, so I just wanted to show you then how we create really good strength behind the stretch. So hopefully you felt that you were stretching your hip, but you were also making it useful and making it strong at the same time. So let's just finish with a nice easy sort of stretch for our lower back and make sure our hips feel good to finish. We're going to come onto your back when you're ready on your mat. And when you get there, you're just going to cross your left foot to your right knee. So just crossing your left foot to your right knee. So just here, we're in this kind of figure 4. I want you to open that knee out a little more. So keeping the back of the pelvis really even and just opening that knee out to external rotation. Now, you might like to stay here. If you want to, you can bring the whole lower body actively up towards your chest, maintaining that figure 4 position. So lifting up and just holding here. So without the arms. So we're going to keep it active to stay on this mobility theme. So you're pressing the legs towards you, and you're actively opening this knee out. So just take a few deep breaths here first. Seeing what active range of motion you have, nice length through the left and right sides of your waist. And now, if you want to see a little bit more for a passive stretch, you can interlace the hands underneath your thigh or on top of your shin, whatever's going to work. And you can keep that knee opening out and make sure that both sides, if you feel that like weight through the left and right sides of the pelvis, try and keep that even. Make sure you're not skewed in your spine. When you're done there, bring that figure four down to the ground, so the foot's down. Keep that figure four arms really wide and just let that figure four rock to give your lower back a nice stretch. So you can let the figure four go to the right and then come through and go to the left. So just notice going left to right. If one side feels a little tight, you can just stay rocking here. If you want to hold one side or the other, feel free to do that. Good. And then when you're ready, we'll switch sides. Knee open, going into your active figure four stretch here. So lower body lifts off, keeping that right knee open and then lifting up. Good. Seeing if you can get that stretch through your glute. Really nice work. And then when you're ready, you can make it passive and interlace the hands underneath the thigh or on top of the shin. Keep that knee open. Take an extra few deep breaths. And then when you're ready, coming down and arms out really wide, shoulders nice and flat, rocking side to side here. Awesome, team. Just a few here. All right, once you're done there, sit yourself up when you're ready. The last exercise we're going to move through for today is a little hamstring opener to finish. A lot, only because I know so many of us have this thing where we're like, I just can't get more flexible in my hamstrings. Now, a lot of the things that we did today, all that hinging work, is just incredible for lengthening and strengthening the hamstrings. But we also, it is good to do some extra conditioning through the hamstrings. So this exercise I really love. It's elephant walk. It's a great way to get that like really straight back of the leg and get us used to it, get our nervous system used to it so that we can work a little closer on our forward fold, releasing any tension through the hips and lower back. So it's very important to firstly find your entry point to this exercise. So with your forward fold, you will need somewhere where you can create, so you can press the hands flat. You might be a chair, it might be a yoga block, or you might be able to do this on the ground. So just come onto this part of the chair for me, Marty. When you come onto that point, so if you're a little higher, like more like this, you want to make sure your feet are hip width apart, so right underneath, so a bit more narrow, right underneath your hips, and you're starting with both knees bent. So both knees start at the bent position here. Now from here, we extend just one leg at a time, squeezing the knee cap, opening the back of the leg into extension, and then we bend both knees. And then we do the same to the other side. Now, if you can get into more of a forward fold better, you can actually have a rounded back for this one. So you can get 1 block, 2 blocks, whatever you have available. You can even be just fingertips. I sometimes find some days I'm fingertips, some days I'm like just knuckles. Now, if you're in this forward fold, it is a rounded back and you want to make sure your hips are over your ankles. You also want to see if you can get this connection between your chest and your thigh bone. Yeah, so see if you can press your chest to your thigh bone. Both knees are bent. Your knees bent? Yeah. So both knees bent to start with and chest to your thigh. Okay. Once you've got this position here, one at a time, we extend the leg and we bend both. A lot of the time I find coordination-wise, people get a bit confused. Just remember both knees bent and then one leg extends back at a time. So let's move through. You're going to do 20 each side. So that's 40 of these in total. So take your time moving from one leg to both knees bent to the other, maintaining that connection of your torso to your thighs and also the hands to whatever point you have on the floor. So keep going. You might find as you get started, things open up a little bit, and say you start on 2 yoga blocks, maybe you can get rid of 1 yoga block and come a little bit lower, but you definitely don't have to. Find a point again that feels doable for you. So again, what this is really teaching is the legs to be fully straight. A lot of the time we're scared to like fully lock our legs. And I think like there's like this myth that used to go around of like, you always want your soft bend in the knee. And while there's nothing wrong with a soft bend in the knee, you really good to have access to both. Yeah, so this is a great one to teach those hamstrings to be long and lengthened. You might find it tight in your calves in this one. Maybe it's the back of the knee. Make sure you breathe, counting.
I'm well over 40.
Okay, well, so once you've done your 40, bend both knees and you can slowly roll yourself up to the top. Okay, so if you got to here, we have made it through this strength and mobility class. I hope your spine and your hips feel not only like more open, but also worked and feeling like they actually supported you and built strength. So I hope this gives you a taste of how we train and that you don't have to choose strength and flexibility. You don't have to choose to get strong or to be flexible. You can actually do both. You can actually have both at the same time if you train in this approach. So
eventually actually want both, actually.
Yeah, and we want both as we get older, because over the age of 30, 1% each year we lose strength and mobility and flexibility. So that is and that's only if we do nothing. If we are training like this, you can build a movement skill, you can be more mobile, you can get more strength at any age. You just have to start where you're at and start building towards it. So thank you for joining us. We always love to hear from you, so please leave a comment below how you went today, and we look forward to moving with you soon.